And let us move towards the next speaker for today, the industry expert with us today. We have with us Dr. Sandeep Bhattacharya, a very renowned name in the industry, with over 33 years of experience in the pharmaceutical industry, covering global marketing, regional marketing in Asia Pacific, and commercial leadership of the business in India. Is currently managing director of Oryx Healthcare Consulting Private Limited. For the period 2007 to 14, he was Chief Marketing Officer, Asia Pacific for Merck & Co. So, Dr. Sandeep, he actually led a team of regional marketing directors and overall responsible for all marketing activities in the region consisting of 13 countries. He was associated with launching highly successful brands like Januvia, Gardasil, etc. And on Januvia, you would be listening tomorrow also from one of our speakers. So listen to Dr. Sandeep Bhattacharya very carefully, ask questions to gain insights from his experience. Welcome, Dr. Sandeep. I'll ask you to please share with us your thoughts. The topic would be data-driven marketing, creating brands that last.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for your patience. This session is to commemorate the work done by Professor Chitta Mitra, Professor Tarun Gupta in getting pharmaceutical marketing out of the art, the nebulous state in which marketing used to be, and to make it a science. Professor Shibu John a little while ago spoke about that you are all asked to build mega brands and to drive growth in brands and to balance business and ethical practices. Some of these topics I will cover today as well in my presentation. So you will be able to see how this can be done. An interesting fact which you should, as students who will enter the industry, observe, that when you get into the industry, you are a novice. And when you are a novice, nobody would like to listen to you. So you need to take leadership. And how will you take leadership? Leadership will be taken when you have data to speak for you. And therefore, I'm going to talk to you about data-driven marketing. When data speaks, everybody will listen. And through that, you will gain intellectual leadership, although you will still be the junior-most person in the room. I would like to, at this juncture, thank the organizers for holding this event at the start of this new year. And really, I think it will be of great value to listen to all these eminent speakers for all the students here. When you talk about pharmaceutical marketing or brand marketing, it's essentially about three things. It's about finding the right doctor. It's about giving him the right message. And it's about helping him to use the product in the best possible manner. So finding the right doctor is about segmentation. Now, what is segmentation? Many of you would have in your MBA course learned about segmentation, but it's important for you to understand in this context, what is segmentation? A marketer who wants to market a product would like to see that all customers are absolutely homogeneous. They have only one requirement, and that requirement is met by his product. On the other side, the customer wants complete customization. He believes he is different from every other customer, and therefore wants a product specifically associated with his requirements. The trade-off between these two desires, between the customer's desire for customization and the marketer's desire for commoditization, the trade-off is segmentation, where you are finding groups of customers whose needs and desires are homogeneous between them and are different from the other groups. In the pharmaceutical industry, we have tried many ways of segmentation. We have tried to segment on the basis of qualification. So you will hear people talking about, I am promoting to GPs, or I'm promoting to consulting physicians, or to cardiologists, to diabetologists, to surgeons, etc. However, we realize that all cardios don't behave the same way. All diabetologists do not behave the same way. All consulting physicians do not behave the same way. So we have to move into the next level, which is behavioral segmentation, where we try and understand the mind of the doctor and try and talk to him or her as per that person's mindset. What is in the mind of a doctor? When a patient walks into a doctor's chamber and gets out with a prescription, between these two events, what goes on in the mind of the doctor? First, there is a diagnosis and patient segmentation. In other words, this person comes in, he checks his blood pressure and sees his blood pressure is high, 160 by 100. Now, this is not sufficient. He also notes that this person has high blood sugar, or he is obese, and therefore is probably suffering from a metabolic syndrome. So he is segmenting in his mind that patient from various angles. Once he has reached a conclusion about this patient type that he is dealing with, he reaches a choice of therapy. So he chooses, let us say, for the antihypertensive, he chooses to give a particular kind of ARB, an angiotensin receptor blocker. So once he has reached that conclusion, a conclusion about a particular molecule, then he chooses a brand. Over years of practice, through habit, these thinkings go on very rapidly in his mind, almost reflexly. But these thinkings do occur. And it is this thinking that we can use to help us understand a doctor's mind. So if we have a group of doctors in the country and we are wanting to segment them, we can segment them on the basis of their therapy choice versus their brand choice. So if we choose doctors who use a particular molecule more than everybody else, so a doctor who uses the molecule more than, let's say, the average of the market, and a doctor who uses a brand more than the average of the market. Now, let me take a very old brand as an example and talk to you in more detail. As an antihypertensive, the doctor chooses the molecule ramipril. Now, this ramipril is an ACE inhibitor, and he has chosen this one. Now he wants to choose a brand, and he chooses the brand Cardace. A doctor who chooses ramipril more often than the average of the market, and one who chooses Cardace brand more often than the average of the market, are the doctors who are your core doctors, the doctors who give you the maximum contribution to your business. The next most ones are those who may not use ramipril more than the average of the market, but use your brand Cardace more than the average of the market. So therefore, they become your quadrant 2 doctors. Quadrant 3 doctors are those who use Ramipril but use other brands. And quadrant 4, of course, are those who don't use the brand or the product molecule. This kind of segmentation can help us reach major decisions with regard to resource allocation. If I take the average of a mid-sized brand in this country, I find that about 10% of the doctors are in quadrant 1, which is higher than average molecule usage, higher than average brand usage. 8% of doctors are less than average molecule usage, but more than average brand usage. 25% of doctors are higher than average molecule usage, less than average a particular brand usage, and 57% of the prescribers are less on both counts. But these 10% of doctors give you 67% of that product's business. The 8% doctors give 25%. So between these 18% of doctors, they are actually delivering more than 90% of the business of the organization for that particular product. And this helps a brand manager to allocate resources. Do you realize that once you are able to show this data analysis to your superiors, your ability to drive a campaign will be much stronger? Once you show this data to your sales team, they will understand how best they need to address the core doctors in their respective territories in order to get the maximum return on investment for their brands. Professor Sunil Deshpande talked about budget constraints. And it is through such resource allocation decisions that brand managers can actually make their budgets go much further than they could do otherwise. So in a brand which is quite old and you just want to protect the volume on that brand, you focus only on the 18%. If you want to protect growth, which means that you want to grow faster and faster, then you take the 18% and add on the 25%. And if you want to expand in a very, very rapid manner, then you choose the entire population of doctors in order to target your product. So depending upon the ambition, the amount of budget which is available, you can decide on which kinds of doctors you want to focus on. And through that, you will be in a position to be the person who invests maximum in his doctors as compared to competition, and therefore win in every single doctor's chamber. Remember, the doctor is not interested in what is your global budget. He is interested in what input you are providing to him in terms of your manpower, which is actually the most important and the most expensive input you are providing is the time of your sales force. I then move into the next piece, which is positioning and messaging. Professor John spoke about balancing business with ethics. I believe there is no such thing as a balance. I think it has to be ethics. Business will come. It is not that if you are ethical, you won't get business, and to get business you have to become unethical. The problem is that we are using persuasion to get business. So if I were to come to you and say, please give me 10 rupees, you may think, Dr. Bhattacharya is asking for 10 rupees. Let me give it to him. So you give me 10 rupees. Next day I come and request for another 10 rupees. Third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, 10th day. One day in the future, you will think, look, this man comes to me every day and asks me for 10 rupees. What's in it for me? And gradually this persuasion, and nowadays not so gradually, it degrades into a transaction. And then that transaction is only produces growth with even greater transaction until you get into a spiral when you cannot afford that transaction any further. Why are we having to use persuasion? Because we are trying to change behavior without change of beliefs and attitudes. I, as a doctor, believe product X is not good, but you come and request me, I write 1 or 2 prescriptions of product X. But I go back to my original default brand as soon as you get out of the chamber. This is it. And then because you give me something, I write some more. When you give me even more, I write even more, and so on and so forth. This transaction goes ad infinitum because my mindset has not been altered. But if you could convince me, if I am writing because of a change in beliefs and attitudes, and I write because of conviction, then this conviction will let me continue to write on a continuous basis, and there will be no conflict between business and ethics. One of the ways of communication, which in this fashion to generate conviction, is through shaping attributes. So every product has some attributes. The molecule has some attributes. The brand has some attributes. So let us take, for example, an anti-diabetic product. Now, in an anti-diabetic product, you have a brand which is the leader, and it is seen to be more efficacious than your brand. But you are seen to be safer than that brand. So you are better on safety, he is better on efficacy as perceived by the doctor. How should you communicate? You should show your data which shows that your efficacy is not that bad, and actually your efficacy is as good as that brand leader, if not better. The other side, you try and get the doctor to understand that safety is extremely important, because when a patient gets side effects, he stops taking the drug. And when he stops taking the drug, the efficacy goes away. So through that, you are pushing the importance of the safety attribute in his mind. So as you go along with your communication, in the doctor's mind, the safety becomes more important, efficacy remains important. So through your communication, you are making your product as close as possible to the leader in terms of its efficacy rating, and you are improving the importance of the safety attribute, which is the area where you are excelling. So in 12 months' time, you will find that you are the brand leader and not brand number 1. Because now you are on 2 counts, both of which are important, efficacy and safety. On efficacy, you are as good as the competitor, and on safety, you are much better than the competitor. So this is how you work on the mindset of the doctor, by targeting the doctor appropriately through segmentation and messaging appropriately. Last but not least, you can go beyond the pill towards outcomes. A patient comes in, goes through diagnosis, therapy choice, brand choice, gets a prescription. Then comes affordability. Can the patient afford it? Even if the patient can afford it, does he adhere to the treatment, especially in the case of chronic therapies? What goes through all these filters is what results in a therapeutic outcome. And at every level of the patient funnel, it is possible to intervene and leverage that filter towards better outcomes. And through these better outcomes, you get a value recognition of the augmented product by both patients and doctors. As there is a better therapeutic outcome, The patient tells the doctor, doctor, I'm feeling very good. You've given me a very good drug. Now, this reflects on you and your product. And one positive word from a patient is worth many hours of detailing from your company's side. And there are many of these technological, innovations that can be used to improve upon each of these therapy filters. So there are new digital therapeutics associated with diagnosis. There are disease management programs that work on therapy choice. There are data analytics that you are able to see from prescription data. Affordability can be managed through patient access programs. So if you have a very expensive program, but which is for a relatively short course, you are able to extend that payment terms in a manner that the person's burden of payment gets spread over time, and therefore many more people are able to afford the product. And last but not least, I would like to take one more minute on adherence. In chronic therapies, there is no intervention that gives better return on investment than adherence. Unfortunately, in our industry, we believe adherence or lack of adherence is about forgetting. And therefore, we design reminder programs. We send SMSs to patients saying, you should please take your tablet, etc., etc. You should, keep your mind on, remembering to take the drug. But we should understand that it is not done that way. No patient sustainably forgets to take a drug. He may forget one day, he may forget 2 days, but he does not sustainably forget to take a drug. And when he does not take a drug, it is because he has taken a conscious decision to not take the drug. For whatever reasons he may take that conscious decision. That conscious decision may be because of wrong information or whatever, but definitely it is a conscious decision which he takes. And when he takes that conscious decision, you have to counsel that patient to understand why he is doing this and what he needs to do differently. Research that we have done across many geographies across the world, in as many as 46 countries of the world, we have tried to understand the behavior associated with adherence. And we've seen that there are 3 C's that are involved in adherence. The first C is cost. And cost is not only economic cost, although economic cost in self-pay markets is a very important element. But even where an employer pays for the medicine, adherence is still an issue because there is a lifestyle cost. In the mind of a patient, I have 2 options. I can treat my disease. Suppose I have diabetes. I can treat my disease. I have to spend some money, maybe 500 rupees a month on buying the tablets for my disease. But more than that, I have to control my diet. I have to do exercise. I have to do yoga. I have to do this. I have to do that. These are all costs in my mind. If I don't treat myself, I have no costs. Counseling in this situation is to explain to patients what is the cost of not treating. And once the cost of not treating gets understood by patients, clearly it is something that they will choose to treat themselves. And as they treat themselves, one prescription that you have generated, instead of giving you 2 months therapy and after that the patient stops, it gives you 2 years therapy, a 12-fold increase because of one patient adherence program. And this kind of return on investment you will not find in any other intervention. The second C is concern. concern for side effects. Patients are continuously worried that they are going to have some adverse effect because of the medicine. Sometimes these adverse effects are real, sometimes they are imagined, but they need to be counseled against. And the third C is commitment. People's commitment to their own health. And some people are not committed to their own health. And we have to understand how we will get them to understand how their health is so important for them. And therefore, counseling is an extremely important intervention that gives rise to significantly improved adherence and superior ROI. Through all of these things, a brand manager is in a position to use data at all stages in order to drive his business across and make these brands into what Professor John called mega brands, and thus be in a position to be the most successful in his field. I thank you very much for your attention and would be happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Sandeep, for this particular presentation, which touched upon few very touchy topics, I would say: ethical and unethical marketing, transactional marketing perils. And as you already said, one should understand that when transactional marketing goes on, there are a lot of perils, and literally nobody can afford it. It's not affordable at all. So build relationships ethically and try to sell ethically. That is one point I wanted to remind everyone about. Vivek sir has commented absolutely correct about adherence. Okay, so this was a wonderful talk, Dr. Sandeep, related to, it was one thing that was a gold mine of knowledge again. If you actually ask me, for the professionals who are already in pharma marketing, they must have learned a lot about this thing, and a change in behavior you mentioned, that was really wonderful to touch upon. Vivek sir, do you have any comments to add here?
It's so wonderful. I mean, eye opener for all of us, about, especially about what he said about the adherence part. Sometimes I think people are looking at 12% growth and 8% growth. I think just by pursuing this patient adherence, one can every year show growth of 100%.
Absolutely right.
Yes, wonderfully put. I'll read out the comments, Dr. Sandeep. So please let us know, according to you, how much efforts should be put for patient counseling as a part of marketing?
So actually, contrary to popular belief, patient counseling is very cheap because you can do telephone counseling. And today with modern technologies, you can even do, digital counseling in terms of, getting into chatbots, etc., where you have at the back end an FAQ database, which can be used to answer questions of patients and be thereby in a position to counsel them. And very soon this written chatbot will move on into voice chat, and that will be even more effective in that situation. The only problem with human to human telecounseling is scale, and one human being can counsel only maybe 1,000 patients. But when you want to scale it up to hundreds of thousands of patients, you need more scalable tools, and that's why I'm talking about digital chatbots, etc., etc. But today with technology, the rapidity with which it is moving, the voice chats are not very far off, and already we can do chatting with a chatbot on one side using artificial intelligence. So all that is possible. It's not at all expensive.
Right, Dr. Sandeep, we have a lot of questions coming, but I think due to paucity of time, I will take up a single question here. So please share some insights on digital marketing, how to grab attention of doctors in restricted time.
So that question I will definitely answer. I also observe a question about in a pharma startup right now. How can I spend on data analytics? I will take these two questions and then we can close. So the question you asked me was,
let me repeat, sir.
Yeah.
How to grab attention of doctors in restricted time.
Yes. So if I am going to talk about, doctor, please use my product, brand X, whatever, how is it of any interest to the doctor? It is not of interest to the doctor. So therefore, you will find the doctor getting transactional. The next time you visit that doctor, what happens? He tells you, "Maine tere ko 3 patient diya." He has not given you anything. He has given your products, benefits to his patients 3 times. But he thinks of it as a transaction between you and him. And therefore he says, "I have given you 3 patients." What we have to do is to change our communication from the talking about, "I want 10 prescriptions from you for my brand," into, "How can I help you better manage all your 100 patients?" If I tell you, "How can I help you manage all your 100 patients?" he cannot say, "What's in it for me?" Because managing his 100 patients properly there is something in it for him, and he knows that. The problem is we are always talking about the numerator of the market share equation, what I am getting. We should shift our emphasis to the denominator, where I go to a doctor and say, "Doctor, you are treating 100 patients of hypertension. How can I help you in ensuring that all 100 patients' blood pressure is always under control? You are prescribing the right medication, but they are not taking. Let me institute an adherence program for you." You see, this will do good for all your 100 patients. So this is the kind of thing that we need to do so that it is of doctor's interest. The doctor doesn't have time for you because he doesn't think what you are saying is of value to him. If he thought what you were saying was of value to him, he would make time for you. I'll move to the next one, which is about pharma startups. How can they spend on data analytics? The answer is a very simple one. When you have a boat which is on turbulent seas and you are just about getting off the shore, the only thing you must not throw away is your compass. So to reduce weightage, you should not throw away your compass. So what you should do is to be creative, to find methodologies to identify your doctors properly. Because the segmentation exercise that I narrated does not require any money. Because at the end of a call, if a medical representative asks the doctor or asks the assistant of the doctor, "How many patients does this doctor treat?" he will get an answer. That answer may be correct, it may be incorrect. It's irrelevant. If he asks the neighboring chemist, "Of these patients, how many does he prescribe this particular glimepiride? And of those glimepiride, how many does he prescribe glycomet GP?" These questions he will get answers for. Answers may be accurate, may not be accurate. But even if they are not accurate, they are equally inaccurate for all the doctors. And when you are using that data for segmentation, even inaccurate data gives you very good results. Because they are equally inaccurate for everybody, and you are only segmenting. What does it mean? That you are prioritizing one fellow over another fellow. So that is how data analytics is not an expense matter, it's a mindset matter. If I apply my mind to it, the little money that I need to use for it, I will find.
Right, Dr. Sandeep, you answered those two questions beautifully, and both the persons who have asked this question got their answers in single liners. So do not throw off your compass. That is the crux of the story when you are in a board.
So I want to end with a story.
Right, sir.
So there was this guy, it was evening and he was walking down the road, and he saw on the footpath one of his friends was standing out there, and that guy was apparently looking for something on the footpath. So he stopped and he said, "What happened?" He said, "Liar, I've lost my wallet." So they both, started searching for that wallet, and for 10 minutes they searched, they couldn't find any wallet. So then this guy asked the friend, he said, "Did you lose the wallet here?" He says, No, I lost it 100 meters down the road, but it is too dark out there, so I'm searching where there is light. I'm sure we all find this funny, but this is what we are doing every day. We are searching for the wallet where there is light, where it is easy to search for the wallet, not where we have lost the wallet. Thank you very much.
Wonderfully put, Dr. Sandeep. Wonderfully put. If people listen and think about this deeply, there is the message of this evening.